Welcome to the Mindset Mutiny. I am your host, Mike Ivanov. Join me as we challenge the status quo, break free from self-imposed limits, and redefine what's possible. What's up, everybody? And welcome back. If you missed last week's episode, make sure you tune in. Had a very special guest, somebody very close to me, and somebody that has been very influential to the last 5 years of my life. Something you really can't miss. But if you did, you can go back and listen now. Anyways, I did want to give a quick little fact after we got off that episode. We hit stop on record and Ben was doing something on his computer and he was kind of quiet. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, he goes, "Hey, listen, Mike, this year we got to do a 20-mile trail race." And shit, that is something way outside of what I'm comfortable doing. But when Ben asks, I have no other option but to say yes. So stay tuned for, some discussion on the training plan coming up and hear about some of the suffering that's going to go on to be able to hit that goal that Ben has set for us, 20-mile trail race. I believe that's in Carlisle, Massachusetts in September. So we got some time to train for it. But that'll be a big X on the map for me. So super excited. And again, that's the type of person you want to have around you. Somebody that's going to challenge you to do more, challenge you to do things way outside your comfort zone, and challenge you to do things that you probably never would challenge yourself to do. So that's just an example of somebody that you need to get in your corner, somebody just like that. So there is no growth in the comfort zone, and Ben understands that, and we discussed a lot of that on the previous podcast. But today, we're talking about something that might make you uncomfortable, but it's absolutely essential for your progress, and that is data-driven decision-making. So let me start with this. Your feelings might fool you, but the data never will. Progress isn't about what you believe. Feelings are liars. Numbers are the truth tellers. Which one are you listening to? So whether you're tracking your calories, your steps, your sales, or even time spent on a hobby, the numbers give you the cold, hard truth. Then there's a scoreboard. So let's talk about that. In my mind, it's the only thing that matters. No one plays games for fun. They play to win. If you're not playing to win, then to be honest, you need to get your fucking shit together. And what I love about the scoreboard is it doesn't care about your excuses, your feelings, or the reasons for falling short. It's cold, it's ruthless, and it's honest. If you're not focused on winning, on hitting your targets, on seeing tangible results, then you're just going through the motions. My advice to you is to stop pretending. Start competing. Let that scoreboard hold you accountable. Because at the end of the day, winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. So this is where data-driven decisions come into play. The scoreboard and data are inseparable. No matter what you think, no matter what you want to believe, your numbers are the scoreboard of your life. They track whether you're winning or losing in real time. Without the data, the scoreboard's blank. Just avoid where progress goes to die. So tracking your metrics gives you the power to see exactly where you stand, what's working, and what needs to change. Data doesn't just measure your performance. It sets the bar for where you need to go next. The scoreboard is 100% ruthless. But when you pair it with data-driven decisions, it becomes your greatest tool for growth. You have to look at data as a mirror. It reflects exactly what's happening. It keeps score. Sometimes you'll love to see it, and other times, it'll challenge you to step up. Either way, it's your guide. When you learn to trust the data over assumptions, You're no longer guessing your way through life. You're working with a roadmap that points directly to growth. And here's the key in my mind. When in doubt, go to the math. What does the data actually say? Are your actions producing measurable results? Do you have any measurements to even look at? So if you're tracking your fitness, don't just assume you're improving because you're feeling better. Look at the numbers. Are you lifting heavier weights? Are you running longer distances? Can you complete more reps? The math provides that clarity. So people tell me all the time that they're working on losing weight. All the fucking time. And I want that for them. But often my response is almost always the same. And this comes from a place of love. And it comes from a place that I've already been, and I've already figured out all the pitfalls. So I just want to get right to the point and help people. And I believe that they can just execute tomorrow, but they don't believe that in their own heart. They don't believe that of themselves. But I always ask follow-up questions just to see if I can provide some insight that might help them. And one of my go-to questions is, how many calories are you eating daily? In almost every case, the answer is, I don't know. Does that make any sense? See, your gas gauge was broken and didn't work, right? Would you drive around until you ran out of gas? Or would you track your mileage so you know when you're getting close to empty? So here's the thing. You can only get so far by relying on feel. And that's what that is. When you're not tracking calories, you're going by feel. Once you get to your goal weight, then you can go by feel. And what nobody wants to hear is losing weight is a simple equation. Calories in versus calories out. If you consume more calories than you burn, your body stores the excess as fat, and the weight won't come off. And this is why most people quit at this stage, because they don't see progress. Even if they feel like they're trying hard, if they track their calories, they'd have a starting point. From there, they could tweak and make adjustments if the results didn't align with their goals. Without data, you're fucking shooting in the dark. So let me just share a personal story. For over a year, I was trying to lose more weight. I was stuck on a plateau. So I thought. I was meticulously tracking my calories and exercising religiously. But no matter what I did, the scale wouldn't fucking move. I was stuck at like 209 to 210 for what felt like, forever. And one night I was sitting on the couch, obviously frustrated, combing through all my food tracking app. I asked myself a simple but powerful question. If I'm tracking everything, right, and working out consistently, why isn't the weight coming off? The laws of thermodynamics haven't changed. If I eat fewer calories than I burn, I should lose weight. So I had the gym dialed in. I had what I thought my food all dialed in. I've been tracking it on the app. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then it hit me when I was trying to figure out where the variable was. I wasn't being as accurate as I thought. Specifically, I was underestimating my serving sizes. In a way, I was lying to myself. I was pretending, I guess, in my head that I was eating a serving when in actual fact, I was eating more than one serving, but I was only tracking a serving. And the reason I didn't know what a serving was because I wasn't weighing my food. So the only way in my mind to get to the real data was that I had to get a scale and double check everything I was eating. And let me tell you, to this day, it was a fucking game changer. So the one thing I like to treat myself to, and this is kind of an example, is these menina tortilla chips. All right. It's like the one thing. Okay. I'm not getting rid of them. I enjoy one serving every night, which we've created some clarity on the serving size now. I thought I was only eating one serving for like 120 calories. I'd swear to it. Put me on a lie detector, I would tell you absolutely one serving, count the chips, boom, boom, boom. In reality, I was eating closer to like 2 to 3 servings, closer to 300 calories. That's a massive fucking difference, especially if you have a routine of doing that, right? Like at the end of the day, that's like my one snack. So by the end of the week, 7 days, that's like 2,100 calories. It's almost a whole day of eating. But I thought I was doing a good job, but I wasn't tracking to the exact gram. Now you might think, oh man, that's like a fucking obsession and that's unhealthy and blah, blah, blah. Well, I want to get to a fucking goal, and that's what it took to get to the goal. So I'd rather accomplish the goal than sit there frustrated and never reach it. I'm one of those guys that will do whatever it fucking takes, and you've probably figured that out by now. So the food scale showed me a lot of things. It also showed me that all the other foods I was consuming, I wasn't calculating correctly either. So by tracking more accurately, I pinpointed the gap. It was absolutely fucking mind-blowing. And once I started weighing my food for a week, the weight started coming off. I busted through this plateau that I'd been fucking sitting on for a year. I started losing a pound a week. Just like that. Snap with the fucking fingers. And I owe it all to the data. That's why we're doing this episode tonight. Not because it's just fucking something fun to talk about. It's because for a year I struggled to try to achieve a goal, and I didn't quit. And I just looked at the data and I said, there's a fucking problem somewhere. And I started to be absolutely brutally honest with myself. I said, okay, well, like I said, the exercise is dialed in. I'm tracking the food on the app. The only problem could be is the human factor, is the guy who's putting the calories into the app. That's the guy. That's the guy we have to watch. That's me. So I assumed that maybe I was making a mistake. So I bought a device that could clear up that for me. And that was a scale, and I'll never go back. So here's the takeaway. Most people have no clue what a real serving size looks like. And that lack of awareness is sabotaging their goals. And some people are probably thinking, listening to this like, yeah, man, whatever, dude, not going to weigh my food, but I'll keep trying to lose weight. Keep wasting your fucking time. Okay? I wasted a year. Now I got the scale moving and I'm fucking juiced up. So fucking pumped about it. Watching my body change. And then I'm starting to build momentum and I'm like, geez, man, I wanted to get under 200, but now like, I don't know, what does 185 look like? Maybe I fucking get shredded at 185. And now that I've got the scale dialed in and I'm eating what I know I can do, it's going to be easy. That's why data is so important. So without accurate data, you're just guessing. Like we said, shooting in the dark. But with the right tools, like the scale and a tracking app, you can take control. So if you're serious about losing weight, try tracking your calories down to the gram. It might be the wake-up call you need to finally hit your goals. A lot of issues around weight loss is lack of education on the subject. I've made this thing my passion for the last 5 years, and I've been studying it. By no stretch of the imagination, am I a doctor or a professional? But I found a way to make it work. I want to share it with everybody. And I'm not charging any money for it like all these assholes on the internet. Okay? Get the scale, weigh the food, and get to whatever weight you want in life. Build that momentum, gain that confidence. All right? But this principle doesn't just apply to weight loss. It's a universal fact that extends to every aspect of your life. Data and measurable outcomes are essential for making meaningful progress in any area. Finances, career, relationships, and even your health. So let's break those down. So finances. In your financial life, ask yourself, are your spending and savings habits truly aligning with your goals. If you don't understand where your money's going, it's easy to fuck up. If you watch it, you can stay on track. Sometimes you might feel like you're being responsible, but in reality, those small, unnoticed expenses, they can snowball into significant shortfalls over time. I'll be the first to admit it. Amazon has been one of my biggest struggles. That and subscription services. You think it's just a little here and there, $30 there for something that caught your eye, maybe $100 for like a gadget you need that you convinced yourself was important. Doesn't feel like much in the moment. But at the end of the year, when you actually zoom out and add it all up, you'll be sitting there fucking mind blown, just like me. Suddenly you'll realize you spent $5,000 on useless shit you don't need, maybe shit you don't even still have. How's that happen? It's simple. You weren't tracking it. Those little purchases feel harmless day to day, but without a system in place to monitor your spending, you lose sight of the bigger picture. It's the same concept as dieting. If you're not tracking what you're consuming, you convince yourself you're doing fine, even when the results say otherwise. This is why you always hear me talk about zooming out and looking at your behavior over time. Day by day spending won't seem like a problem until it's too late. You have to see the compounding effect of your financial decisions. What seems minor today adds up to thousands tomorrow. And feelings won't keep you financially secure. Taking it day by day won't magically build wealth. The only way to take control of your financial health is by tracking your spending, creating that budget and setting measurable savings goals, and then fucking hitting them. So when you track your finances, you're forced to confront the reality of your choices. That's uncomfortable. Trust me on that. But it's also fucking empowering. It gives you a clear picture of where your money's actually going. And once you see it in black and white, you can make the real changes. And again, it's not about being perfect or never spending money on yourself. It's about awareness. When you track your spending, you're no longer on autopilot. You become intentional with your choices. You start asking yourself, do I really need this? Am I just mindlessly spending? Financial freedom isn't a mystery. It starts at exactly where your money goes, right? It starts with knowing exactly where you're spending it, holding yourself accountable, making decisions based on the data, not on how you think you're doing. We've already established that all humans lie to themselves. So don't go on your thoughts. Go on the fucking data. And without tracking, you're just guessing. And guesswork, the fastest way to stay broke. So take control, zoom out, track everything, and watch how quickly your financial picture changes. Your career. So in your professional life, right, numbers are just as critical. Are your efforts reflected in measurable achievements? Whether you're in sales, where closed deals and revenue are clear indicators of success, or in project management, where timelines and deliverables show progress. Measurable data is the proof of your effort. Vague goals like work harder or be better, I'm sorry, those are fucking useless. That's not measurable. Therefore, you can't evaluate your progress. Instead, focus on quantifiable outcomes. How many projects have you completed? What's the percentage growth in your sales? Numbers provide that clarity and a roadmap to improve. Relationships. Even in personal relationships, the principle of data-driven decisions holds true. Think about it. Relationships require consistent investment of time, energy, and attention. Are you truly giving your loved ones the time they deserve? Or are you just assuming you are? Listen, I'm fucking guilty of this. Okay? I know a lot of you are too. We try to tell ourselves we're doing a good job, but if we could just step out of our body and observe ourselves for a small amount of time, you probably leave your loved one talking to you while you're swiping on Instagram. You're probably yesing your loved one to death because you're busy thinking about something else. I'm fucking right. Because I'm talking about me. But it applies to you because you do the same thing. You might try to convince yourself you're being present. But again, feelings don't always reflect the reality. And here's the problem. If you're not intentional about tracking how much quality time you spend with the people in your life, or worse, if you're ignoring the feedback they give you, you could be massively overestimating your efforts. And again, it's easy to think, I'm a good partner, or I'm a present parent, without any real measurement to back it up. But I'll challenge you with this. Are you really showing up? Or are you just going through the motions? While the data in relationships might not look like a spreadsheet of numbers, it's still measurable. Are you having meaningful conversations regularly? Are you listening more than you're talking? Are you creating space to support the other person's growth? These are metrics. Even if they're not as rigid as a financial statement or a sales report, intentionality matters. Consistency matters. Relationships don't thrive on assumptions. They thrive on deliberate action. I like to think about it like this. If you pay attention to how often you check in with a friend, you might assume the friendship is fine. Until you realize you haven't reached out in months. So when you don't pay attention to the relationship, things get away from you. And then you look back and you say, oh, geez, look at that. I missed a text from that person. That was 3 months ago. Oh, shit. And then you feel like a fucking asshole, right? But you probably in the back of your head until you realize that thought you were doing pretty good. Happens to all of us. The same goes for family or your spouse. Are you dedicating time to strengthen the connection? Or are you coasting on autopilot, assuming everything is okay? You keep assuming everything is okay with your spouse. One day you wake up and they are telling you they're fucking going to the next relationship. Beware of that shit. Don't get complacent on the person that you love. Don't sleep on that shit. It's the most important thing in your entire life is your partner. So invest accordingly. The most successful relationships are built on intentional effort. Just like success in business or fitness. You don't guess your way to a strong marriage. You don't guess your way to a tight-knit family. You don't guess your way to lifelong friendships. You measure your efforts by asking questions. Did I make time for them? Did I really listen? Did I support them when they needed me? And when the answers fall short, you adjust. At the end of the day, relationships are investments. And like any investment, you get out what you put in. But if you're not tracking what you put in, you're gambling with something far more valuable than money. You're gambling with trust, love, and connection. I'll tell you right now, I have learned that success in relationships isn't a fucking mystery. It's about showing up consistently and being intentional. Measuring your efforts, listening to feedback, and course correcting as needed. Relationships don't thrive on assumptions. They thrive on data-driven action. Your health beyond weight loss. It's another one. In fitness, are you tracking your strength gains or your endurance improvements? In mental health, are you monitoring how often you engage in stress-reducing habits? Or how often you're journaling about your thoughts? Progress in these areas might feel intangible, but when you track them, you'll often find patterns and opportunities for growth. Data-driven decisions are exactly what they sound like. Making choices based on facts, measurements, and insights, not assumptions or emotions. It is not an abstract concept. It's a principle that applies to every area of your life. Think about it. If you're trying to lose weight, do you rely on what feels right? Or do you track your calories, your workouts, and your progress? Feelings can be deceptive. They ebb and flow based on your mood, your cravings, or fatigue. But hard data doesn't cave. It gives you clarity. It shows you exactly where you stand and what needs to change to hit your goals. And just a short little thing on goals. If you're not hitting them, you're doing something wrong. And it's your fault. Nobody else's. It's hard to fucking swallow. But I've had to hear it a million times. So I'm kind of numb to it now. I know that it's all on me. If I want something, it's all on me to get it. And there's a quiet peace in that. I love it. Anyway, on to the business. Imagine running a company based on guesswork. If you're not analyzing the sales data, if you're not looking at your customers' feedback, you're not monitoring the performance metrics, how can you know what's working? How can you know what's not working? You might think a product is thriving or a process is efficient. But without the measurable results, you are blind to reality. If you're not tracking measurable results, you're guessing. And guesswork, as we already know, is the enemy of progress. It will keep you in a loop of trial and error without ever really growing. And the reason I love data is because it cuts through the noise. It takes emotion, bias, and perception out of the equation, leaving you with a clear, actionable path forward. Whether it's about losing weight, improving your finances, advancing your career, growing a business, the foundation of progress is all the same. Measure, evaluate, adjust. I love that. Measure, evaluate, adjust. If you applied that shit to everything, you wouldn't even recognize yourself. And I can assure you, success doesn't happen by chance. It's built on the consistency of data-driven decisions. That's why we're fucking talking about this. Take notes. Shit, do something. Look at some data. Make a change. Measure, evaluate, adjust. And then there's the best part, is accountability. Accountability starts with knowing the facts. You might convince yourself you're killing it in the gym. But what's the logbook say? Are you lifting heavier? Are you running faster? Or are you staying the same? Shit, you might even be going backwards. Tracking habits is the foundation of accountability. It removes the fog of I think I'm doing enough and replaces it with clear evidence. So personally, I use a simple system. For fitness, I log every lift, every run, every gallon of water, and every calorie. For work, I track how I spend my hours. It's not about micromanaging yourself. It's about clarity. Clarity gives you power. So for fitness, a couple apps I use are Fitbit and Strava. Love them. They automatically log your runs and workouts, right from your watch. You can track pace, distance, heart rate, all the good shit. But most importantly, they make it easy to visualize progress and show you where you're improving. You can see how everything stacks up week to week, month to month, year to year. There's no hiding. And when it comes to nutrition, I use an app called Lose It. Got a lifetime membership. I recommend everybody use it. And I know people are like, I don't want to spend money on more apps. Well, you're spending money on shit apps that don't even help you. Spend money on apps that don't contribute to your health or your success. I'm not asking you to do anything crazy. I'm asking you just get some apps to help you perform, help you fix your health, your finances. All right? That shit's important. All right? Lose It provides a breakdown of all your calorie intake, macronutrients, even patterns in your eating habits. It'll suggest to you, hey, on this day you ate this, you did well. On this day you ate this, you didn't do so well. Those are all very helpful facts for people that are just getting started. But seeing the data allows you to tweak your diet for better results. For work productivity, there's a million tracking tools out there. Use Toggle or Rescue Time. They can give you an honest picture of, how your hours are spent. I mean, maybe you think you're working hard, but the data might show you that social media is probably eating away at your focus, probably dominating a lot of your time. If you're out there and you've got over, 2 hours of screen time a day, you could do better. If you got 5 hours of screen time a day, you're fucked. And it's time to do something. There's a lot of people that have that screen time and then tell me they can't do things. I challenge that. Put the fucking phone down. Maybe you can do something. But you wouldn't know that because you're not tracking and you don't really give a fuck. But by tracking, you know exactly where to adjust and improve. Listen, I've made some adjustments myself. I'm right now about a week off from Instagram, and I plan to go 60 days. And we'll discuss it in a podcast. I think it'll be cool to talk about. I have already seen changes in 6 days that I never knew were possible as far as my brain and how I feel and levels of anxiety just by being off of that shit. It's unbelievable. So listen, try to cut back and we'll get to it. We'll talk about how. But again, it really comes down to willpower. Anyway, the bottom line is this. If you're not tracking, you're guessing, and guessing doesn't lead to growth. Clear, honest data gives you a solid foundation to improve and progress in every area of your life. We got to be honest with ourselves. Our emotions lie to us. So many of us feel productive because we're busy, but the numbers will show you that you wasted time. You sat around, you scrolled for hours. You might feel healthy because you skipped dessert, but a calorie tracker might show you that you're still overeating. I gotta tell you, all of this shit, none of it's easy, okay? Prepare to struggle with everything that you want to achieve. And if you're not struggling, you're not pushing hard enough, you're not setting big enough goals, you might just be fucking around. You might be complacent. You gotta end the day feeling like you put it all on the line. And what will help you put it all on the line is data. Data cuts through that noise. We've talked about that. It eliminates the excuses. And that's exactly what we need if we're serious about growth. When you rely on data, you're no longer a slave to your feelings. You are in control. Let's do some examples. It's always helpful. And again, I know I bring up weight loss and all this shit, but it's important. It's one of the hardest things anybody could ever do. And anybody that's ever tried knows that. Okay, so I'm not just shooting the fucking breeze. All right? So you're trying to lose weight. You feel like you're eating healthy, but Lose It app, right? Or Fitbit might reveal you're consuming more calories than you burn. If you're trying to improve your endurance, Strava could show you whether your pace and mileage are improving week to week. Without that stuff, how are you going to know? These tools take the guesswork out of it. So apps like Lose It, Strava, Fitbit, they make the tracking effortless. You don't have to rely on memory because you can't. They give you hard data, whether it's the calories consumed, the steps taken, or the hours of sleep. This is especially powerful because it lets you spot trends over time. If you're logging everything consistently, you can pinpoint exactly when things improve or stall and adjust accordingly. Data does not care how you feel, and that's what's so great about it. It's just fucking honest. It doesn't know any better. And that's what makes it your greatest ally. When you track your metrics with tools like these, you have everything you need to make informed decisions and take meaningful action. The only question is whether you're ready to face the truth and use it to grow. Goals are fucking useless if you can't measure them. That's why we use SMART goals. Nick Blake mentioned that when we sat down for our podcast, and it stuck with me. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For those of you that are very observant, that's the breakdown of SMART goals. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So let's take an example. Instead of saying, I want to get in shape, right? Because that's not specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, or time-bound. You say something like, I want to run a 10K in under 50 minutes by June, right? So if I say it again, I want to run a 10K in under 50 minutes by June. That is specific. That can be measured. It's certainly achievable. Fuck, it's definitely relevant. And by June means it's time-bound. Now you have a target. You can track your runs. You can measure your progress and adjust your training plan based on what the numbers tell you. These tools give you the data points that help you fine-tune your training plan. We can simplify it even more. Set a goal to walk 10,000 steps a day. Measure it. Track every step with a tracker or your phone app. Make it non-negotiable. You can't go to bed until you hit that number. It's specific. 10,000 steps. It's measurable. It's tracked through a device. It's achievable. That's within reach for most people. It's relevant. It contributes to your health. That's what you're trying to work on. It's time-bound. You have to do it daily. That's what SMART goals look like in action. So fucking make some SMART goals and go and achieve them. Again, if your goal is to lose 10 pounds in 3 months, you got to use the Lose It app. I told you I have a lifetime membership. 1,958 days of tracking my food, every meal and every calorie consumed. If the numbers aren't aligning with your goal, you can make immediate adjustments. Reduce the portion size. Increase your activity levels, right? How about a financial example? Suppose your goal is to save $5,000 in 6 months. Use an app like Rocket Money so you can track your income and expenses. These type of apps, they categorize your spending, which will help you identify where you can cut back. For instance, if you find that you're spending too much on dining out or subscription services, you can reallocate those funds toward your savings. Tracking also allows you how to spot those trends, like months where you've consistently overspent. And then you have to take corrective action to stay on target. But you can't do that without an app. You can't do that without something visual to show you where you're falling short. Trust me, I know. I used to never look at my bank account. I would just spend. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, what the fuck happened to all my money? Why am I in debt? What the fuck did I do? You know, but if you look at it every day and you see where your money's going and you, this is tough, but I get so pissed about spending money now. You know, my wife is probably just sick of it. I'm probably miserable to hang around, but you know what? We have a goal as a unit. Her and I have a shared goal and we know what it's going to take to get there. And if it's looking at prices and, saying no, that's what's going to happen. And the only reason I know these things now is because I used that app. It showed me where I was falling short, showed me all the errors, showed me all the dumb shit I was doing, reminds me, flashing, hey, asshole, stop spending money. You're being an idiot. So it's the same thing in business. Got to track the sales calls, the conversion rates, the weekly revenue. That can all pinpoint if you're doing good or you're falling short. Tracking will take your ambition and give it structure. Whether it's fitness, finance, or personal growth, measurable progress is the only real progress. Again, we lie to ourselves. We tell ourselves we're doing so fucking good. But the numbers will say otherwise. Sometimes, like I mentioned in the beginning, the best way to get clarity is to go to the math. What do I mean by that? It's simple. Strip away the assumptions. Fuck the emotions. And look at the raw numbers. If you're trying to improve fitness, instead of saying, I feel stronger, go to the math. How heavy are the weights? How fast are your runs? What are the distances? And the same principle applies to finances. Want to save more money? Go to the math. What's your total income versus your expenses? Are there unnecessary subscriptions, or are you having bad habits that drain your savings? The math does not lie. Again, same thing. In relationships or personal growth, you can use the math. How many hours are you spending on quality time with loved ones versus the mindless scrolling on your phone? I'll tell you, most of you will ignore me on that, unless I'm going to go over it again. How many hours are you spending on quality time with loved ones versus mindlessly scrolling on your phone? That one hits me, and I hope it fucking hits you, because we're all addicted to the phone. Guess what? The human being in front of you is much more important. Pick your fucking head up out of the phone. Tell the person in front of you that you love them. Ask them how their day was. Find out where they're struggling. Because I'll tell you right now, Instagram, Facebook, none of that shit's ever done a good thing for me. Anyway, how many books or courses have you completed this year compared to last? When you go to the math, it's not just about seeing where you stand, it's about taking ownership. The numbers put the power back in your hands, showing you exactly what needs to change and where to focus your energy. And when you act on those numbers, that's when the real progress happens. You'll see it, and then you build momentum, and then before you know it, there's nothing you can't do. You're looking for things to make better. Just build the momentum, please. It's all I want you to do. I want you to feel it. Once you feel it, you can't be stopped. So one of the best things about using data is the ability to create feedback loops. Here's how that works. You try something, you measure the results, and you adjust over and over. Let's just say you're trying to improve your sales process. Track how many calls you make, how many leads you convert, and how much revenue you generate. If the numbers aren't improving, you tweak your approach until they do. Small changes over time. If you're not tracking them, then how the fuck do you know if they're working? That's like the main point here, right? If you're not tracking, you make a change, how do you know it works? You don't. But by tracking, you can monitor these small adjustments to see what works and what doesn't. Without tracking, you're making random changes with no way to measure their impact. It's fucking insane. But when you're tracking, you can also identify different trends and anticipate what changes might work best. It's like navigating with a GPS versus driving down the street with a fucking blindfold on. And don't forget, small adjustments add up. And when you compare the data before and after each tweak, you gain confidence in the process. Confidence builds that momentum that we always talk about. So whether it's adjusting that sales pitch, modifying the workout routine, or even improving your sleep habits, the data tells the real story and it keeps you on track. It's that fucking simple. If you think there's anything other than that, you're lying to yourself. It's that fucking simple. You could sit here and just say that over and over again. You gotta just believe it. So here's my challenge for you. Pick one area of your life where you're struggling to make progress. Could be fitness, finances, career, whatever the fuck it is. I don't care. Pick one thing and start tracking it now. Identify 1 or 2 metrics and commit to tracking them every day for the next month. Why is that? Because again, the numbers cut through the fog of perception and give you a solid foundation to build on. Your perception is often skewed by emotions, habits, and biases. We all think we're working hard. We all think we're saving enough. We all think we're showing up in our relationships, but without the measurable data, we're guessing. That tracking, again, gives you clarity, shows you exactly what's working and what isn't. You might feel like you're putting in that effort, but unless you're documenting your progress, you could be stuck where you are. The data does not lie. It exposes the truth you don't want to hear, both the good and the bad. It forces you to see the reality for what it is, and it gives you the power to make informed adjustments and celebrate genuine progress. But there's a catch. That's what I love about this. Data forces accountability. The same accountability you've fucking been running from. The same accountability you try to convince yourself that you have. And let me just tell you something. Don't fucking let me catch you lying about your data. Whatever it is, just write it down. If you don't like what you see, change it. If you ate too many calories, put it down. Don't lie about it. If you spent too much money, document it. Don't rationalize it. The numbers are the truth. The data doesn't fucking lie. So if you're tracking and still not improving, the first question you need to ask yourself is this. Am I being honest with my data? It's that simple. I'll be real with you. I've lied to myself before when tracking my data. I've rounded down, ignored certain things, tried to convince myself I was doing better than I was. That guy's fucking long dead and gone. But that's exactly how I know you're going to do it too. So don't fall into that trap. It will delay your progress and it will cloud the playing field. Be brutally honest. Face the numbers head on and make the necessary changes. That tracking will build that momentum. When you see even the smallest improvement in your numbers, it'll light a fire under you. It's proof that your work is paying off. But on the flip side, beware. When the numbers don't move, that's your signal to reassess. The data is that feedback loop, your guide to keep you growing. Success will never happen by accident. It's built on consistent, measurable actions that align with your goals. Whether it's calories consumed, dollars spent, hours worked, or miles run, the numbers provide the clarity and the confidence to move forward. I want you to remember this. Life is full of variables, and your perception will mislead you, I promise. The data will never lie. It's the most powerful tool you have to face the truth. Adjust your strategy and take control of your life. Until next time, keep fighting, keep pushing, and remember, the only thing standing between you and greatness is the work you're willing to put in. So fucking go do it.